Most entrepreneurs probably feel like they could use some time to get away from the hustle and bustle of the everyday office grind. Yet so few actually take the time to do it. It's hard to find the time to put everything on hold, and no one wants to get behind or feel like the office is going to fall apart while they're away. Well, today's guest is going to tell you how you can get away and get back in just 48 hours. That's right. Keep it locked because our guest is going to give you the inside scoop on how you can get that much needed reboot in just 48 hours.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy.
Today's guest is Gabriella Ribeiro Truman, owner and operator of True Marketing by Day and CEO and founder of Explorator Journeys by Night. Gabriella specializes in curating authentic, immersive journeys for globally curious travelers. If you're interested in getting some much-needed R&R, then you do not want to miss today's interview.
Gabriella, thanks for joining us today. I know the audience is going to get so much out of today's episode, and this is one of my favorite topics, travel.
It's something that, you drop that word and everybody immediately wants to listen to you, whether you're interesting or not. I think travel just has that allure, and it's timeless, and it never gets boring. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, you know, with me, it's so funny. I always look forward to actually getting away, and then when I'm going to get away, it's like, oh, you know what? I'm really looking forward to getting home as well. Am I like the oddity, or is that, the majority of people?
I think that's a beautiful thing, and I think that just means that you're happy and you've created a wonderful home space for yourself that you appreciate. So it's always great to get outside of your comfort zone, but I think ultimately it's more important to love where you live and where you are. So I think you're doing it right.
No, I agree with that. I used to live in Jersey, where you are now, worked in Manhattan, and I just got so sick of those gray skies during the September to March time period. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm moving to Atlanta where it's sunny.
I would say, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get into politics, but I'll tell you, it's October and it's about 84 degrees here in New Jersey.
Oh, you got a nice one. All right. Well,
yes, we got the blue skies back. So if you want to come and visit,
no, not busted on Jersey. It just you know how it could be gray during the winter months, and
100%.
And I grew up on the Jersey Shore, so I mean, I love my state. So, but I do enjoy the South as well. So I want to dive into this. This was really interesting. I quite frankly, I forget how we actually found each other. Do you recall?
I think it was featured in a newsletter, and we connected after that and started to tell you my story. And then we spoke on the phone, and of course, it had to do with travel. So your interest was piqued, and there we were. So now we're on the phone, ready to chat travel.
Awesome. So one of the things that stood out, and this is why we're featuring Gabriella on the show today, is so many entrepreneurs have such limited time to get away, vacation, travel, and so many of my clients are looking for that short little hit where they can just go away and experience something spectacular, but they have a short period of time. And you have something which I absolutely love, the 48-hour power jaunt. Tell us how you came up with it and some details.
Well, I've been traveling like this kind of all my life. I've always been, my adult life, a serial entrepreneur, I'd say. And even in college and prior to that, I grew up with two parents in the travel industry. So it was really normal for us to just, if we had a ticket, we went. It didn't matter if it was 2 days or 3 days. And my dad was very much like that too. He had traveled all over the world and made the most of, the hours that he would have, sometimes on the ground in a city. So I grew up understanding that and knowing how to maximize my time. And as I'm older now, I run a couple of businesses. I'm a single mom, and my time is challenged. So when I can go, I just go. And people look at me like I'm crazy half the time, but so I run into in my circles a lot of entrepreneurs and just busy business people. And they always say, I want to travel, but I just don't have the time. And I look at them and I say, why don't you? What did you do this weekend? And they'll tell me, and they'll rattle off a bunch of things that they did in Manhattan. And most likely, when I cost up what they've spent, they could have gone to London for the weekend, for cheaper than what they did in LA or Manhattan. So I developed these itineraries and just to make the most of somebody who has 2 days on the ground to spend anywhere. It could be Hong Kong, could be Paris, it could be Marrakesh. And we've had to create the itineraries sort of to, in a puzzle sort of format to make the pieces fit and to get rid of things that annoy people that stop them from traveling. Some people say, well, I'd like to go to Europe, but I can't stand when I can't get into my hotel room. I arrive early. And so we have guaranteed early check-in, for example, a little jet lag revival massage when people arrive and things like this to get them, acclimated quick and to give them a little taste of the city in a way that they really didn't know was possible.
And what do these range from? Where's the starting point? And obviously they go up to anywhere, but what do they start at?
That's a tough question. I'd probably say, everything is really, it depends on the time of year. It depends on what hotel you want. It depends on where you're flying from. So there really is no quote unquote kind of starting point. It's all based around the individual.
And do most people book these last minute? Or are they something that they kind of plan ahead several months in advance?
Gosh, all over the map. I mean, I had a guy who came to me most recently, and he was going to Tokyo, not from here, but he was from Singapore to Tokyo. He was, wanted to do that from a business conference, and he booked it on a Thursday, and he was going to arrive on a Saturday. So we can move on the fly. We have great partners on the ground and where we operate. So, and then we have some people that want to book a year in advance. It just depends on their schedule and their personality.
I get a lot of people that want to get away kind of last minute. And, of course, the airlines, the hotel industry, rental car, they all kind of know that last minute purchase is, hey, we're going to be able to get our pound of flesh. Is there some strategies that you can use to get around that?
You can. There's a lot of low-cost carriers that, lots of times have these last-minute fares. You do have to watch out for them because sometimes you'll see like a fare for like 10 pounds or something in Europe, but then you realize, okay, that doesn't include like, I don't know, even like the opportunity to bring a purse on without being charged or something like that. So you've got to watch. But there are other strategies where you can fly to cities that are nearby to where you're looking for, if you don't mind a little bit of an extra drive or a train ride. There's airports around London that don't, it's not always about Heathrow, for example. You can fly into London City Airport if you find a cheaper fare. It depends on where you're going. But as far as last minute, the only kind of best bet you have is if you're not going to fly into another city that's, somewhat nearby, is perhaps to look at a connecting flight or, something like that might not be the most convenient, but it'll save you some money if you're willing to just fly a little longer.
Who tends to be the client that utilizes this?
Most of the time it's a kind of someone like me, like their head is moving like 1,000 miles a minute. They need someone who is in need of a reboot. I'll put it that way. And I always use that word because sometimes I just have to sit down and just, even if it's 5 minutes of deep breathing, when you're doing so much work, and someone who just needs a change of scenery sometimes just to get right with themselves. If they're struggling with something, usually I find a lot of entrepreneurs that are sort of like, I'm in a little bit of a funk. I can't see my way out of one or two things. And I need to just reset myself. And 2 days is the perfect amount of time to do that. And also, if people aren't comfortable traveling alone, because I get a lot of solo travelers who take advantage of this, 2 days is like that kind of breaking point where even if you don't love being by yourself, you can handle it. Otherwise, it starts to get awkward, if you're 3, 4, 5 days and you're on your own. So it's people, just kind of like, even if they're not comfortable traveling alone, they still do it because it's only that 2 day, but they're usually in some sort of I wouldn't say a crisis, but maybe a crossroads in their head, and they just need a little bit of a, flash in the pan getaway.
Maybe you should set up a little side business so you could have an assist dog to meet them on their travels, right?
or like a little stick figure of something that they love, to take with them or something like that, a photo of somebody. Yeah, something like that. But 2 days is perfect. People don't tend to get lonely because we keep them really busy. And they're met from the time that they arrive at the airport, and, there's an itinerary for them, and there are tours where they can take with people, so there's, they're interacting. So it's that perfect balance.
Now, when you said they're met at the airport, do you have a tour guide that meets them in the cities?
We have a driver that meets them right at the airport. Sometimes it depends on the destination. We can have them met right off the plane so they can really feel like a rock star. And then, they're brought to their hotel with a private car. And then, there's a series of different tours that they'll take during the day. Some might be private, some might be guided. In any case, we always have a guide or point of contact, either picking them up and bringing them there, or, meeting them on site wherever they decide to meet at a meeting point, and, embarking on the experience that day.
Now, let's just make sure that I want to make sure that we kind of narrow in on kind of your ideal clientele. If you're going to Miami for 2 days and you're staying at the Holiday Inn, probably you're not the person to call. I'm getting that sense. It's like, go ahead.
People say, what is the difference between, because we also travel, we plan longer journeys as well. And the simplest way I can sort of lay it out to people, I'm like, if you want to go to Jamaica and sit on the beach, or you want to go on a Caribbean cruise, or you want to go to Disney, please don't call me.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
No, good. And then I want that's what I want to make sure.
That was love, right?
No, absolutely. Look, in order to serve our audience, we have to make sure that we tell those that we don't serve, we're not a good fit, and do that early. You don't want to get a ton of phone calls after this podcast of trying to book Disney or Jamaica.
What I try to do is, even if it's the 48-hour power jaunt or a longer trip, what I see we do is we curate authentic, immersive travel experiences, and we try to leave a footprint on someone's soul. And that's really the best way I can explain it. What we like to do is understand a person's goals. We need to know their profession, what they like to do, what they've done in the past, and then give them, it's not always about hotels for us, and things like this. It's more about experiences. Like, for instance, if we're working with a doctor and he's just really, in a rut, and he's going to Africa, for example, we can schedule an experience where he can volunteer at a clinic out in the bush, in the safaris, near a safari lodge or something like that. If we have someone who really loves food and wine, we can organize something where they can go to a winery, snip the grapes, stomp the grapes, design their own wine bottle, and all of that kind of thing. So really just kind of taking what they want to do and twisting it up a little bit.
Interesting. What are some of that was a couple of them. Tell us some of the interesting programs that you've put together for customers.
We've had one that was really beautiful. We had a couple celebrating a very, very, very big anniversary. It was 60th, and they brought 27 of their family members to Africa and had a tribal ceremony, sort of a vow renewal, and that was just spectacular. We've had some real, sporty people that have wanted to heli hike in New Zealand, and we even did a proposal during one of those experiences for a guest. So, those types of things that sort of are impactful. We can do a lot of community outreach as well. We had a honeymoon couple that was lovely, and they had a beautiful. They went to South Africa, for example, and they wanted to spend a full day making lunches for kids at an after-school program and helping kids with their homework and changing diapers, and so it really depends on the person, but we can kind of do it all depending on what their goal is.
I know you also have a sales and marketing firm that specializes in the travel and vacation sector. What differences have you seen emerge over the last 15 years in the industry?
Like, in that business, it's interesting because we work with travel agents. We're sort of, the way I could describe myself is, if you know what a pharmaceutical rep does, they go around to doctors' offices and they have this bag of medicine that they say, okay, could you use this? We are contracted by hotels and airlines and tourism companies to have us market their services to travel agents. And so the differences I've seen of that, travel agents have sort of ebbed and flowed. People, when onliners like Expedia and the like kind of rose, people said, well, what am I going to need a travel agent for? I can do this all myself. And that peaked, especially when I started my business, and even years after that. And we were wondering, what is the future? And now you see, because so many people want experiences instead of just, booking a hotel and an airline. Anybody can do that. But people have less and less vacation time. Their lives are busier. And so the trips need to mean more. And there has become such a renewed interest in working with a specialist and a stylist who can design that kind of thing. Because let's face it, if you book your package on Expedia and you arrive and there's no hotel room for you and this and that, you have nobody to help you. You're kind of on your own. You're booking tours based on, things that you read on the internet, but you really don't know if they're appropriate for you or your kids. You can wind up at something, some sort of a disastrous situation. So there really is such a value. And what I also see, which I love, is there's so many young faces now who are becoming more prominent in the travel industry, sort of on the agency side. younger people coming out of college and all of these things, and really great educations, but saying, you know what, I want to see the world and I want to do this differently. And maybe they're focusing on luxury, but you see a heck of a lot more younger agents, which I had never seen before.
What do you think the future of the industry is? Where's it going?
All about customization and, and being slick and utilizing social media to the best of your advantage. Because I think that, travel is such a great space. I mean, if you're, Instagram, I mean, forget it. If you're a traveler, I mean, that's your platform, and Facebook, that's where people hang out. So I think you have such an opportunity almost to grow your business and spending a lot less money, marketing and spending more time and energy, servicing your clients. So I think the people that can really drill down and listen to their clients and suggest things that are completely out of the box, those are going to be the winners.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a friend that she is a Instagrammer, I guess is the best way to say it. And she's hired by countries and hotels and high luxury areas that just show up and take some pictures and post it on your social media.
That's
really
amazing. Yeah, I see a lot of that lately. And I think it's such a brilliant way to do things.
Yeah, and it's a six-figure job for her. She travels all over the world just taking photos.
See, travel can be lucrative, is it, people?
Yeah.
Sometimes people think not, but it really can be it is a beautiful career, but it can be a beautiful earning, potential career as well, where it never used to be in the past.
And what about the marketing and the sales organization? Do you see those tour operators continuing to do that? How's their business changing?
It's changing in a bit because I think, people who do like scheduled tours and things like that, there's a market for that, I think, of course. And it's generally an older market. It's more like your boomers and older, I'd say, or seniors that like organized options where they're going with a group of this, people of the same age and they're moving at a particular pace. I think they're profitable because they're doing a lot of volume. But as far as innovation, I don't see a lot of it. I'd see more innovation on people that customize on an individual basis.
And what are the millennials doing?
Kind of their own thing. But, I don't see a lot of the backpacker, age anymore. I don't, I think that, people are just either making more or spending more, or they're taking more from their parents, all of which are fine, if it's going to help you see the world, in my opinion. But I think you're seeing I hate, overusing this word, but it really is. It's just, what are you getting for your time? Like they want to meet people. They don't just want to go and travel. They want experiences where they're shaking hands and they're tasting street food and, they're learning how to drum and, and taking part in music festivals, things like this. So they're definitely more out there. They're more into it. And I still see that because we have a lot of millennials that travel with us. They seem to have a lot of time. I don't know what it is, or they're maximizing their vacation time. We get the power jaunts for people that are, I'd say, more settled in their careers, or more, I would say like maybe in their late 30s to 50s. But we see a lot of millennials doing longer trips, which is interesting.
Yeah, I'm going to explain this one to you.
Okay.
The old guys like me that own the companies, we have to work. And the people that come to work for us, the millennials, they want a lot of time off. So we have to give them time off so they can go travel.
You cracked that case.
I cracked that case. There it is. The owners are back home working and they just want the power jaunts because that's all they can squeeze in. And the employees, they've got plenty of time because that's what they negotiate. Otherwise, they're not coming to work for you.
But what I kind of like is that I think, there's always these studies about how much vacation time Americans leave on the table. Maybe that's going to take a turn. And I always thought that was just a sickening fact, why wouldn't you? And it's nice to see that people, for bless them if they're taking the time and seeing the world. I think that's great. If they're using it wisely, fantastic.
Yeah, I think that'll continue to happen. The generation coming up definitely wants to take the time. Well, look at other cultures around the world. Europe, I mean, you can't find anybody that works in August. They're somewhere else. I don't know where, they all see. What's interesting is no matter where you go, there's it seems like people are like, oh yeah, everyone's on vacation. Well, they've got to be somewhere, right? You got to go somewhere where it's like, okay, I can't even get in. Maybe it's Spain or Portugal or somewhere, but no one seems to be in London.
No, and they go and what I respect about it is that they stick to it. I think when we travel, especially me, I mean, my peace is knowing I can be connected. You know what I mean? So I'm like that. Some people need to be disconnected. I like to know that I can, connect. But, like when I deal with companies, elsewhere, I get out of office replies like by the dozens, like on a daily basis. And I'm like, what is that? I haven't used an out of office reply in 20 years. Like there's no out of office for me. You know what I mean? Because my clients expect me to be around but I kind of respect the fact that they can disconnect. And you know what? Everything functions. Yeah. We feel like everything's going to fall apart if we're out of the office for a day or unreachable. And the truth is it's not going to happen. No. I think we as entrepreneurs need to especially reset that. It's difficult because I'm a victim of it, but I do respect that they can go and there is no issue. When they're gone, they're gone. They're not checking in. And if they're back in 2 weeks, then that's when they'll get back to you. And everything's just like that.
Yeah. Yeah. The service industry tends to operate a little bit differently.
Yes, very much.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com, and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.
Be on the lookout for part 2 of our conversation with Gabriella, where she tells us the 3 biggest lessons she learned when starting her own business, as well as how to deal with clients overseas. See you next time on another episode of Peak Performers Podcast.